Hello. I love Christmas. I eat, drink and be merry at Christmas time. I love Christmas! Ho 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 ho! Now, Christmas time is a time of seeing people you haven't seen, pretending you like them, and generally being very self-indulgent. So I have decided to fit in with the merry festive season, and I have decided to review a game that I personally love very much. One that means a lot to me. Don't like it? I don't care, it's Christmas. I can do what I want. That game is the fantastic UN Squadron. Now, with a title like UN Squadron, you can be forgiven for thinking that this game is about some kind of diplomatic peace missions. Well, how wrong you are. Imagine if they'd called Super Metroid something like Super Advanced Needlework. Well, the same thing kind of happened here. It's good, isn't it? We don't really want a diplomatic peace game, do we? No. This is better. I'll show you. Instead, you play as one of 3 mercenaries on various side-scrolling missions. The idea is to fly through the level, killing everything that moves. At the end of each level is a boss, and you need to take them out as best as you can. Giant tanks, battleships, and even fortresses want you dead, and it is up to your tiny aircraft to ensure that doesn't happen. A map screen appears after every mission and gives you a selection of missions to choose from. As you complete more missions, more become available to attempt. However, leave a mission for too long and your mercenary base comes under attack. When this happens, you have no choice but to complete the offending mission before moving on to another. Luckily, you get to buy a selection of special weapons that perform a variety of different attacks. There are bombs, cluster missiles, and the Mega Crush, which rains down a hellfire of destruction on any of your enemies on screen. Badass. At the beginning of each level, you get to decide what aircraft you want to use. You start off with a bog standard plane that can only carry up to 3 different special weapons, as well as a machine gun. However, as you earn more money from missions, you can choose to buy newer, better planes. Don't bother until you have enough for this plane here. It's the only other one that's really worth it, as its gun shoots in 2 different directions at once. Very, very useful. Now, because of that, it's time for the Super Nintendo Fanboy Christmas Tip. On the map screen, you will sometimes see a truck appear. Clicking on it starts a bonus level, where you have to destroy a convoy. Pick any plane with a Mega Crush, which I think is all of them. When the level appears, your plane will blink for a couple of seconds right at the start. As soon as it stops blinking, launch your Mega Crush. If you time it just right, the convoy will be taken out in one fell swoop with minimal damage. As this gives you about $20,000 a time, you can quickly save up for that $350,000 plane that's worth it. The missions are what you would expect from a side-scrolling flight game, but feel so satisfying. I can't explain it particularly well, but I've always loved games like this, and UN Squadron is definitely top of the list for this genre. Don't get me wrong, I love the complex plot and adventuring of games like Zelda and Metroid, but sometimes all you want is to blow stuff up, and UN Squadron is my game of choice for that. UN Squadron is fun. Imagine being given a variety of huge and innovative weapons and a cascade of enemies to fight against. It's every man's dream game. This game delivers so well on that. It's exactly what you want for a good old shoot 'em up. Released initially in 1991, this was one of the first Super Nintendo games available on the market, but you would not know it. It looks so impressive. The lightning effects are cool, the backgrounds and foregrounds have been well planned, and the movement of all characters is fluid, with minimal slowdown even when the screen is busy. The soundtrack is one of the best I've heard from a video game. Just have a listen. In my opinion, the forest level is the most impressive. You fly above the treetops, and the enemies come at you from all angles as per usual. However, they also now hide below the trees. Does that stop you? Ha! Deforestation on a global scale. The enemy for this level as well is awesome. A giant forest fortress with guns, aircraft hangars and a homing missile launcher which is only open for a few seconds at a time and, surprise surprise, is the only weak point of the level. I cannot count the number of times I have been disintegrated by this unforgiving behemoth. Finally, this game is pretty tough. Now, for a lot of games that might be a bad thing. Some people might consider difficulty a negative point. However, for this game it doesn't work like that. Every single time you beat a level, you feel like you've excelled and you've improved in your game playing ability. Every time you don't beat a level, it makes you so determined to do more that you go back for more. It's just so addictive. The challenge is fantastic. There are very little bad things to say about this game. One thing that annoys me is about when you get hit. In most games, when you get hit by an enemy, you become immune for a short amount of time, so that you can collect your thoughts before continuing. However, in UN Squadron it works the other way. Get hit by an enemy and your plane flashes red for a couple of seconds. Get hit again in this time and you die instantly, no matter how much life you had left. Watch this. I have most of my life left here. I'm shooting this helicopter and I accidentally touch the nose cone, which causes me damage. Fair enough. He then shoots me with a missile and I die straight away. It's an extra challenge in a game that already wants you to be very dead. As this game was brought out in 1991, there are times, especially when there are lots of enemies on screen, that the game suffers from a slower rate of movement. You get used to it after a while, but it's worth mentioning, especially as I really have no other bad things to say about this game. Now, you can be forgiven for never having played UN Squadron, because the name can throw people off a lot. In fact, the name is one of the game's biggest, if not only, downfall. A lot of people haven't played this game, even to this day, because they consider it must be some kind of publicity stunt for the United Nations. It's got nothing to do with the United Nations at all. In Japan, the game is actually called Area 88, and it's what a lot of fans consider it to be called all over the world, because it avoids confusion. Now, if you're a fan of games like Super R-Type and Gradius 3 on the Super Nintendo, then you definitely need to give UN Squadron a go if you haven't already, because in my very biased opinion, I actually consider it a lot better. when giving this game a final score, I am fully aware that I am very self-indulgent. I can't help myself. It's a game that not only gave me a lot of enjoyment as a child, but even now I still probably play this the most out of all the Super Nintendo games that I own, and that's a lot. So I try not to be too biased when I give it a score. In fact, I'm a bit reluctant to give it a score at all. I could just say, it's my Christmas one, here you go. However, it's probably only fair to give it a score just for continuity's sake. And so, in a not too biased, but incredibly fair opinion, I'm going to give this game a 93%. It's, in an unbiased sense, not as good as my last reviews, but it's better than toys. So that was my dedication to one of my favourite games on the Super Nintendo. I hope you all have a fantastic Christmas, and I'll see you just before New Year, so make sure you check back. However, like I said, have a great Christmas. I know I'm going to. Last year I got Terranigma for Christmas. You don't get much better than that, but that's to come.